Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. On stage, we have Susan Lockwood. I'm very pleased to welcome you, Susan. Can you hear us well?
Yeah, I can hear you, and very great to be here. Thank you.
Very pleased to have you here. You are a tech director at Mindera and also an author in engineering, not to mention you're a composer as well. Susan, you are working, we just discussed in backstage, you're working in a Portuguese company with a global presence, and you are in California, where I hope it's a sunny weather today. I hope you will touch upon the cultural mix of Mindera. I'm very interested. But I must admit, the focus today is on teamwork. How can you work in teams when you are alone at home? Floor is yours from my side. And for the audience, please do use the Q&A tab if you have any questions. I will watch for that.
Well, thank you for that intro, Laszlo. What I'll do by way of introduction is share my screen and give everyone a little bit of an overview about Mindera first, to be able to set the stage for the discussion that we're going to have. And let's see what. Okay, great. If that's working. So it is not working. It was working. Well, if that isn't working, I'll go ahead I'll go ahead and speak to it, and I can do that as well. So, Mindera is a company of, as Laszlo was saying, it's a worldwide company. We were founded about 7 years ago, and most of our minders, we call ourselves minders, most of our minders are in Portugal. We actually have 7 sites around the world. We have 7 global sites. We're about 800 people. We work with many clients, over 50, maybe 60 at this point. We build applications for these clients. We built more than 150 applications. We maintain applications with our clients. Daily transactions for us that are on our clients' platforms are in the millions. So we have a lot of experience with all around the world, global brands, global presences, working on big projects. We were founded in 2014. We're about 7 years old now. I have been with the company for about 7 years. I'm a software engineer by training. About 22 years now, software engineer. Mindera itself is in Portugal, in several areas in Portugal, in the UK. We have 2 sites in India. We're in Romania, and we are proud to say that we just opened offices in Brazil as well. So we're very excited to welcome our Brazil team to the Mindera family. Diversity and inclusion, I always put that in these presentations. It's very important to us as well here at Mindera. We are, Camilla Harris said it best, that our unity is our strength and diversity is our power. We're a global company, and even within each of our centers, we have all kinds of people with all kinds of opinions and strengths and everything that individuals bring to the table. We definitely value the contributions of individuals. Our tech, I like to say we speak tech. I also like to say that we are tech agnostic. We don't have a particular stack that we work in. We work in the stack that makes the most sense for the project that we're doing or for the client that we're serving. So, I can think of offhand maybe 2 or 3 dozen technologies that we work in on a day-to-day basis in all kinds of disciplines. So from DevOps all the way up to front end and the presentations here, how your website looks, for example, or how your application looks, your Android or iOS app. We are tech agnostic. I get that question a lot, and our answer to that question is, what do you need? We can do it. We are a self-managed, mostly flat organization, and I'll get into what that means. But for the most, in the broadest sense, what that means is we're looking for highly autonomous individuals, people who have a lot of self-responsibility and can act, from their own sort of thoughts about how things should be, and also highly collaborative people, so people who are able to collaborate very strongly in teams. Because Mindera's success is in teams. That's how we succeed. We build high-functioning, highly technical Scrum teams. We believe that self-managed people make for strong, accountable, highly functional teams. Um, we believe that minders build and care for Mindera. We feel like we are building this organization. And with great power comes great responsibility. I'm sure you've heard that before. Um, but that's Mindera. That's our sort of our cultural center point. Is we have very little hierarchy in our organization. We very strongly believe in self-management. Um, that said, we are very choosy in our hiring process. We have a 3-step hiring process that involves um, an initial intake where we sort of get to know the person as a person a little bit about your skill set and who you are as a person a little bit. And we have our second phase of that is a rigorous technical interview. You really do have to have the technical chops to be able to perform. And in that technical interview, you're also being evaluated for your what we call your soft skills. How do you take care of the interview? How do you approach solving the technical problem? Do you ask questions? If you run into a wall, which happens a lot in a technical interview, they're a little bit nerve-wracking. People can be nervous. When you get nervous or when you hit that wall and you just can't think even of something that you know, how do you respond to that? How do you handle pressure? So we definitely are evaluating candidates on that as well. And we let the candidate know that as part of the interview as well. There are no surprises in our technical interviews, at least not the ones that I conduct. Our third interview is a cultural interview. And in that interview, that's where we get into the Mindera culture of self-direction, high autonomy, high accountability. We minders interview future minders. So people who come in and interview at Mindera are interviewed by the people they'll be working with, either in their discipline, let's say it's QAE or it's front end, or on the specific team that we're hiring for. It's very important to us that the people you'll be working with on a day-to-day basis are involved in the hiring decisions about who comes onto their team. So your future peers conduct your interview here at Mindera. We're very picky. Only 2% of the people who apply to Mindera actually are hired by Mindera. We're looking for what we call minders, very special category of people. So what I want to talk about today is what makes Mindera teams work and how that looks in a distributed remote first environment. So the first sort of mental bullet point I have about that is technical excellence. And we deliver for our clients. That's what we do. We deliver whether that client is internal to Mindera, we're building something that we are using, or it's an external client, maybe a worldwide sort of clothing brand name that you would have on your shirt right now that you would know. We deliver for them, and that requires technical excellence. The second thing I put down is it requires superior communication. I mean, we just insist on it, and we have ways to facilitate that and help with that. The third thing I put down is commitment to process. As minders, we work to build processes that work for our teams, and then we ask our teams to commit to that process. For example, if we're using agile methodologies, which I'm sure many people on the call are familiar with, you commit to that. If you're going to be, you're at stand-up every day, for example. You're participating in agile ceremonies like grooming and retrospectives and pointings and things like that. So commitment to process. We really believe that process is something that allows our teams to function very efficiently with minimum friction and high throughput, high output. And the two other bullet points I have mentally are high autonomy, the ability for a person to say, I will take responsibility for that, and I will deliver on my commitments that I have taken. And so let's say you're working in a sprint, a 2-week sprint, and you commit to doing a certain number of story points or a certain number of features in the sprint, whatever that looks like. No one at Mindera has the job of chasing you down to see if you're actually doing your work. That autonomy, that comes from you and your commitment to the team. And that folds into my other bullet point, which is high accountability. I'm accountable to my teams. I'm accountable to the minders that I work with. I'm accountable to my clients. So if I say something is going to be done by 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, it's done by 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, or I've communicated in advance why it shouldn't be done by Tuesday at 3 p.m. or why it can't be done. And that communication doesn't come at Tuesday at 2 p.m. It comes well in advance. That becomes part of our superior communication bullet point in our commitment. So just a few more words about the culture at Mindera and how we form and how we are accountable to teams. Because there's very little hierarchy at Mindera, because you don't have a boss that's, you tell your schedule to your boss and your boss is saying, why aren't you here if it's 9:30 in the morning? Rather, what we do is we say, okay, I'm on this team and this team is working to deliver exceptional results for this client. So I'm going to communicate with my team, my PO. I'm going to set in my Mindera calendar, for example, it's as small a thing as saying, these are the work hours that I work. Mindera doesn't check to see, are you working between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.? If you are better working between midnight and 8 a.m. and that's your jam and that's what you do, we love that. As long as you communicate that to your team and your team understands it and it works with your team and the client, right? So 12 and 8, if that's your jam, you do it. But if you say that 12 and 8 is your time, that's when your team is going to expect you to be there and performing. So no one is going to be saying, are you there? Are you working? That's not how we succeed, by sort of looking over the person's shoulder. We succeed by linking arms as a team and understanding what we're doing and going forward and doing it. Accountability is a big thing. We love it when people on our teams raise a hand and say, I have a better solution to this that I want to share, or I don't know how to fix this. Can I get 2 people in a room together for 30 minutes while I show you my approach, and let's throw it up on the whiteboard and brainstorm about it. So that kind of communication is what feeds and enables the autonomy and the accountability. And that allows us as Mindera to have a very relatively, like I said, very flat structure where your manager doesn't have a manager, doesn't have a manager, doesn't have a manager. Another thing that we like to say about Mindera, if you see it and it's broken, fix it. Propose something that will fix it. If you see an interesting project that's going on at Mindera, raise your hand and say, hey, I'd like to be part of that project. If you have a strong opinion that something that we're doing, a process that we have is broken, raise a hand about it. Join groups, join security groups, have your voice be heard. That goes back to our diversity and inclusion. It's not the kind of place where you can sort of hide and just do nothing. It's more like, we want your opinion. We want you to, Minders build Mindera, so we want you to be part of building Mindera. In a remote first work world, which is where we all are now, and where we will be to some extent for the future, for the foreseeable, how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of Zoom meetings, that's for sure. And I'm sure everyone on the call has had experience with that. We keep together with, we use tools like Slack, Meet, Zoom, those kinds of things. We all update to each other our work schedules so that people know when I'm working, they know when they can reach me. We're very sensitive to time zones and time zone differences, because we're a distributed worldwide company. And we coordinate through calendars, through communication, and Slack and Zoom. And then we have people on we call it our culture team, which anyone can join at Mindera. And they will facilitate things like happy hours, like daily happy hours, like Zoom breaks, no Zoom meetings for the next hour, lunch breaks, lunch and learn. We have processes where if you know something about Istio, for example, and building service meshes, like Kubernetes, and that's like your jam, and you just know that and you want to share it, Mindera will buy lunch, and you can present, your half hour or your 20 minutes or whatever, what you know about that topic, and people can have a Q&A session, that kind of thing. So, we're really, it is definitely a challenge. We are challenged by time zone differences, and we are challenged by the fact that the world is remote first right now, and that can be very isolating for some people. So, our answer to those challenges is more communication, more reaching out. Minders reaching out to minders. Hey, how are you doing today? In a direct message. I see that you were out sick yesterday. Are you feeling better today? It takes that extra little bit of care and looking out for the person, since you can't see them sitting across from you in the office. You have to take the extra care virtually, and that becomes part of Mindera taking care of minders, taking care of Mindera, keeping an eye out for your team. And then the one more thing I would say is, we get asked a lot by our minders and also by people who are considering coming to work for Mindera, when will the offices open up again? And of course, that's different for us in where you are in the world. And we are closely monitoring that. And we have, for example, in the United States, we have offices in Pittsburgh and we have offices in San Diego. And we are working on, with the people in both of those areas, we're working on what's a good cadence for people to go in and safely work in the office. What's a good cadence? How many people are we able to be, to maintain social distance? What will we do about people, who will we do something where people self-test or something like that? It's right now, Mindera, like many other companies, I'm sure all in the world, is in the middle of figuring that out. And the Mindera way to figure that out is to get the minders together and figure out what to do. Inform what we have to do legally, and then from that, what will we do as Mindera to support that? So, the answer is it's a very fluid situation, and we're in the middle of it with everyone else and working with it. So with that, let me just put a pin in that, in everything I've said, and ask if there are any questions at the moment that I can answer.
Thank you very much, Susan. I saw some great energy forests coming up from the screen when you touched upon that possibility to raise your voice inside. That gives me some memories back. Some companies actually don't do that. It's still 2021, and they are still not allowing people to speak up so openly. So it's great, and I think after that, two similar questions popped up. Let me show on stage the first one. Are you looking for remote employees? You said you have a booth there for people interested in Mindera, right?
We are looking for remote employees, yes, and we have a process for that, and we welcome that. So the thing to do there is visit our website, mindera.com. Everything that we have open is listed there. And if you do apply to Mindera, drop me a note on LinkedIn and say, hey, I saw you at the Tech Jobs Fair and I applied for this position, and I'll keep an eye out for your application. I'm happy to do that.
More specifically, without the working visas, so you said that remote first is the new normal at Mindera. Is it compatible with this one?
I can't speak to the particulars about that, but do ask it. Please reach out to me directly. My name, it's susan.lockwood@mindera.com or via LinkedIn, and I'll find out the answer to that, because I know that our hiring department is deep into that right now, and that we are doing something, but because that's not my particular focus, I'm aware that we're doing it. I don't know specifically what it is. So I can get you that answer if you shoot me an email or reach out on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Susan. I said that you are also a musician. Did you participate in any remote concert experiment during these years? And is there something common between putting together a concert or an orchestra online and putting together a teamwork online?
I love that question. I haven't participated in an actual remote performance. We've set that up at Mindera, where we have a music channel in Slack where people have done that and have done sort of remote. We definitely share a lot about music. I myself am a composer, so I write for orchestra and for media. And I have, the closest I have to that right now is a remote composing group where we share our scores, we write music and sort of play it for each other and get very helpful, I'll say, feedback about how our compositions are going. I am a composer, though. I love it. That's as much as I love what I do at Mindera, I love that as well.
I'm sure you do. I don't see any new questions popping up, but I hope that they will come to your email. I just shared it. One other thing about the hybrid office thing and the remote work, there is actually a very good online event coming up at the end of the month, I saw. So I'm trying to put it into this chat window right now for those who are interested. And then I think, yeah, one closing remark, if you will. What would you suggest for those who are a bit afraid of the remote first world?
I'm sorry, you asking if I have suggestions for people who are afraid of
Yeah,
it? Or?
yeah. Do you have anything to say for a person who is a bit unwilling to get used to this remote first thing that's gonna go mainstream? I think in a lot of tech companies.
I love that question. So the solution to that, in my mind, is again superior communication. So there's a couple of things. If you're very accustomed to going into an office, and that's really what you're most comfortable with in terms of your working style, the most powerful thing you can do for that while you are remote is keep that cadence and keep that hour. For example, if you were used to going into the office at 8:30 in the morning, getting a cup of coffee and sitting down and opening up Visual Studio and beginning your coding at 8:45, that's what you're doing. And maybe you code for the first hour of your day before you even check email or whatever. Do the same thing in your home office. In other words, mimic what you would do in your work office with what you would do in your home office as much as possible. The other thing is reach out. Boy, if you need a break from your work, for example, and you're just feeling isolated, we strongly encourage, use Slack, reach out. If you are feeling it, it's 100% certain that someone else is feeling it. And one thing that we see as a trend, which is interesting, we've noticed that it seems that rather than work an 8-hour day, people will put in a 10-hour day because there's just nothing else to do because you're locked in at home and you might as well work. And our answer to that is no. Do your 8 hours with Mindera and then have your life. We don't encourage overworking. And we don't encourage what we call heroing, which is I'll just do it. I'll just muscle through and get it all done, even if I have to do it by 2 a.m. or whatever. That's a recipe for burnout. So we are really strong on work-life balance as part of our communications protocols. Yeah. Those are the two things I can suggest.
Strongly in favor of doing so. I think it's a very good suggestion. If you are afraid of that, you're probably afraid because you are afraid of going sucked up in the online screen world. Just don't do that. Yeah, and that's the answer. All right, Susan, thank you very much for being with us today, and also thank you very much for Mindera to come and open up the job opportunities for the people here searching for jobs at the moment. Time is up, but the booth of Mindera is still open. So I end this session with the confidence that you can still meet afterwards. Bye, everybody. Thank you for being with us.
Bye-bye, all. Thank you.